Her male best friend mocked me at dinner. She could do way better than you. I shut him down in front of everyone. She snapped, apologize or we're over. I smiled. I didn't say a word, but when she came home weeks later, she finally learned what done really means. For 3 years, my life with Anna was good. Great, even. I'm a lawyer, so my day job is basically wading through the worst parts of human nature. Coming home to her was like taking a breath of fresh air. She was a paralegal, smart as a whip, and had this fire in her to go to law school and make a name for herself. I loved that about her. We were a team, building a life in a house I'd spent years restoring. It felt solid, real. I wasn't just paying bills for a girlfriend, I was investing in the woman I was going to marry. But there was always this static, a low-level hum of something not being quite right. And that static had a name, Leo. Leo was her best friend from college. He was a graphic designer, one of those guys who calls himself an artist and acts like working a 9-to-5 is a fate worse than death. Meanwhile, he was designing menus for taco joints to barely make his rent. To hear Anna tell it, he was her ride or die, her platonic soulmate, the guy who protected her. To me, he was a leech with a superiority complex, and he had made it his life's mission to undermine our relationship. He was a pro at it, I'll give him that. He never did anything you could call him out on directly. It was all subtle digs, little poison darts disguised as compliments. Her ex-boyfriend, Alex, a musician who'd broken her heart, was his favorite topic. If I took Anna on a nice vacation to Mexico, Leo would find a way to bring up some spontaneous camping trip he and Anna took once. "Remember that, Anna?" he'd say, all wistful. "You can't plan moments like that. You just have to be with someone who gets your free spirit." The message was always the same. I was the boring, safe choice, and he was the gatekeeper to the exciting life she was leaving behind. And Anna? She ate it up with a spoon. She was completely snowed by his protective friend act. Anytime I'd even hint that he was out of line, she'd get defensive. "He's just being Leo. He was there for me when Alex shattered my heart. He's just worried about me. He's family, Jack. I'm a patient guy. You have to be in my line of work. You don't jump on the first piece of evidence. You wait. You let the other side talk. You let them build their own case against themselves, and you wait for them to hand you the rope." I waited for Leo to hand me the rope. The moment came a month ago. I'd just won the biggest case of my career. 6 months of my life, gone. Countless sleepless nights, weekends spent buried in paperwork. But we won, and it was a huge deal for my firm and for me. To celebrate, I threw a dinner party. My closest friends, the ones who'd barely seen me for half a year, were all there. And because I was still trying to be the good guy, I told Anna to invite her friends, which of course meant Leo was coming. The night was perfect. The house was full of good people, the expensive wine I'd been saving was open, and I was actually relaxing for the first time in what felt like forever. Leo naturally was soaking up the free booze and acting like he co-owned the place. He got a few drinks in him and decided it was time for a performance. He started on some long, boring tangent about an art exhibit, which was really just an excuse to talk about the difference between creators and suits. "It's just a different way of seeing the world," he said, looking right at me. "Some of us are driven by passion, by art. Others are more practical." He took a long, slow sip of my wine. My friends knew his game and were shooting him looks that could curdle milk. I just gave him a tight smile and refused to engage. But he wasn't done. He turned to Anna, putting on his best concerned friend face. "I just hope you're happy, Anna," he said, his voice dripping with fake sincerity. "I mean, Jack's a great guy. He's stable, he's a provider, he's reliable." He said reliable like it was a dirty word. Then he paused, looked me dead in the eye, and let a smug little smirk spread across his face. "But you've got to admit, she could do way better than you." And there it was. The rope. The whole table went silent. You could have heard a pin drop. My friends looked like they were about to physically restrain themselves from launching across the table. Anna just stared at her plate, blushing. She wasn't mad at him. She was just embarrassed that he'd made a scene. That was the moment the focus snapped into place for me. The picture became crystal clear. The patient lawyer was gone. The man who had just been fundamentally disrespected in his own home, in front of his friends, by a man who was living off his generosity, was now running the show. I put my fork and knife down, very slowly. I folded my hands on the table and fixed my eyes on Leo. The friendly host had left the building. The prosecutor had just taken his place at the podium. "That's a bold claim, Leo," I said. My voice was dangerously quiet. "I'm interested in your reasoning. In your expert opinion, what does a better man for Anna look like? Please, be specific. Lay out the criteria for me." Leo was completely thrown. He was geared up for a shouting match. He wasn't prepared for a calm, methodical cross-examination. Well, he stammered. "Someone more on her level. A creative, someone who gets her." "I see," I said, nodding. "So the main qualification is being a creative. An interesting theory. And I assume you see yourself as fitting this description?" "I think I understand her better than anyone," he said, puffing out his chest. "Perfect," I said. "So you're the gold standard. Let's examine that. Let's add a few other factors to this analysis. Let's talk about something more concrete than vibes. Let's talk about investment. As everyone here knows, Anna is in her second year of law school. It's a top-tier program with a price tag to match. I'm paying for that, the whole thing. It's a major investment of capital, of course, but it's also an investment of faith. Faith in her and faith in our future together. So my question for you, Leo, as the self-appointed gold standard of what's better for Anna, is this. What have you invested in her future lately, other than your consistently negative opinions of me?" Leo's face went white. Anna shot me a panicked look. "Jack, don't do this," she whispered. I held up a hand to silence her. My eyes still locked on Leo. "I'm not done. Let's talk about the car she drives. It's safe, it's reliable, it gets her to school and back. I bought it for her. Now, you have a car too, right, Leo? A cool little convertible that seems to break down a lot. In fact, Anna has had to loan you money for repairs at least 3 times in the last 6 months, hasn't she? Money that she took from the household account that, by the way, I'm the only one who deposits into. So in a very real sense, Leo, I'm not just investing in Anna's future, I'm also paying to keep your little hipster mobile on the road. You're welcome." One of my buddies at the table actually snorted with laughter before covering it with a cough. Leo looked like he'd been slapped. "And finally," I said, leaning forward, my voice dropping, "let's talk about this house. The roof over her head. I own it, I pay the mortgage, I fix the things that break. You, on the other hand, have been late on your rent so many times that Anna has had to cover for you, again, with money that I earned. So let me just summarize your argument for the jury, for the table. Your position is that a man who provides a stable home, a reliable car, and a fully funded, top-tier education is an inferior choice for Anna, and that a better man, by your definition, is one who is a financial black hole, who drains her resources, and who repays her kindness by systematically trying to sabotage her relationship out of what can only be a pathetic, transparent, and deeply creepy obsession. Is that a fair and accurate summary of your position, Leo?" I leaned back. The closing argument was done. The room was utterly silent. Leo was a broken man, a witness who had just been torn to shreds on the stand. He just sat there, humiliated, unable to speak. I looked at my friends who were all staring at Leo with open contempt. Then I looked at Anna. Her face was a storm of emotions, but the one that won, the one that broke through the shock and embarrassment, wasn't relief. It wasn't gratitude. It was pure, white-hot fury. She shot up from her chair, the legs scraping violently against the floor. Her whole body was shaking. "I cannot believe you just did that," she hissed. "You humiliated him, in front of everyone." "He humiliated himself, Anna," I said, my voice tired now. "I just presented the evidence." "Apologize to him," she demanded, her eyes blazing with a fire that was aimed entirely at me. "Right now. Apologize to my best friend for what you just did. Apologize, or we are over." And there it was, the ultimatum, the final piece of evidence. She was standing next to the wreckage of a man who had just been exposed as a manipulative parasite, and she was defending him. She was choosing him. The love I had for her didn't just die, it was executed. I looked at her, and for the first time, I saw her with perfect clarity. I didn't get mad. I didn't yell. I just smiled. A small, sad, and completely final smile. I didn't say another word. I stood up, picked up my wine glass, and walked into the kitchen, leaving her standing alone in the silent dining room. The case was closed. The verdict was in. The aftermath of that dinner was swift. Anna and Leo left together in a cloud of drama. She moved in with him that night, a decision I'm sure was made in the heat of her rage and his humiliation. In her mind, she'd thrown down the gauntlet. She was waiting for me to come crawling back, to apologize, to do whatever it took to fix what I had broken. She had no idea that I had simply accepted her terms. For 2 weeks, I went completely dark. I didn't answer her calls. I didn't reply to the barrage of angry, then confused, then pleading texts. I ignored the mutual friends she sent to plead her case. I was a ghost. Instead of chasing her, I got to work. My house, which had felt like our home, now felt like a crime scene. I spent a weekend methodically packing every single thing she owned into boxes. It wasn't an angry act, it was a cleansing. I was an executor, settling the estate of a dead relationship. When I was done, I stacked the boxes in the spare room, changed all the locks, and reset the security codes. Then I made 2 phone calls. They were not pleasant, but they were necessary. They were the logical consequences of the verdict she had delivered at that dinner party. The first call was to the dean of admissions at her law school. I had a good relationship with him from my alumni work. I explained in calm, professional terms that due to a permanent change in my personal circumstances, the private scholarship fund I had set up to cover Anna's tuition was being dissolved, effective immediately. The second call was to the managing partner at my firm. I had pulled a lot of strings to get Anna a coveted summer internship there. It was a career maker. I explained that a severe and irreconcilable personal conflict of interest had arisen, and the offer had to be rescinded. I took no joy in this, but my support for her was based on the foundation of our partnership. She had taken a sledgehammer to that foundation. She could no longer live in the house. Exactly 2 weeks after the dinner, she showed up at my door. I watched her on the security camera fumbling with her key, her confusion turning to anger when it didn't work. She finally rang the bell. I opened the door, leaving the security chain on. She looked awful. The righteous anger was gone, replaced by a weary desperation. The reality of living with a broke narcissistic artist had clearly been a harsh one. "Jack, we need to talk," she said. "No, Anna, we don't," I replied. "You made your choice. The conversation is over." "You can't just throw away 3 years over one fight," she pleaded, tears starting to form. I was angry. I wasn't thinking. "It wasn't a fight," I said. "It was a moment of truth. You were given a clear choice between your partner and the man who has been trying to destroy our relationship, and you chose him. You demanded that I apologize to him. You chose to defend the parasite. That's not something I can forget." The panic was starting to set in as she realized I wasn't budging. "But everything we planned," she stammered. "Law school, the internship?" "Yes, about that," I said, letting the silence stretch. "The tuition for your final semester is due next week, isn't it? I hope you and Leo have a plan for that because my investment in our future has been terminated." Her face went white. "What?" she whispered. "And the internship at my firm," I continued, relentlessly. "That offer has been rescinded. The firm takes conflicts of interest very seriously." She actually stumbled back, her hand flying to her mouth. The internship was her golden ticket. The future she had been so sure of was evaporating before her eyes. "You can't do that," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Jack, please, you can't." "I already have," I said. "Actions have consequences. You gave me an ultimatum. Apologize or we're over. I chose over. Now you get to live with the consequences. Go ask Leo for help, the man who is so much better than me. I'm sure his creative genius includes a plan to pay for your $50,000 tuition and replace the career you just lost." I closed the door on her tear-streaked face. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel sad. I just felt quiet. The trial was over. The aftermath was predictable. Anna's life fell apart. She had to drop out of law school just months from graduating. The dream was dead. She and Leo are apparently still living together in his tiny apartment. I've heard from friends that it's a special kind of hell. She's consumed by resentment for what he cost her, and he's stuck with a woman who is a constant, bitter reminder of his own inadequacy. He got the girl, but he got a broken version of her that he can't afford to fix. I didn't do this for revenge. I did it for myself. A relationship is a contract, and she violated the most fundamental clause: loyalty. My actions weren't a punishment. They were an enforcement of the terms. She wanted to know what done really means. Now she knows. It means the support stops, the investment ends, and the builder walks off the site, leaving you in the wreckage of the house you helped burn down.